Okay, hey economic students, by the time you are watching this, I am already on the airplane to sunny Arizona, where it is in the high 80s. You can be jealous right now. However, I'm creating this video for you to explain our next step, which is adding in supply. Alright, so by now, you should have already turned in this warm-up. Your substitute teacher should have collected it, where you're pretending that you're a farmer and you can grow corn or soybeans. What I want to draw your attention to here is that this is from the point of view of the producer. We are no longer consumers in this scenario, we are going as the producers. So in this scenario, we want the high price, we want to get paid more. As a consumer, we want to pay less, but that's not who we are in this scenario. So the crop that we would plant in the spring would be soybeans, right? The price of soybeans went up, we want more money, that's what we're planting. All right. Technical issues. All right, but before we move ahead to supply, we're going to take a step back and review demand curves and demand curve shifts, all right? So let's practice these two scenarios together, and I want you to think about, is it a movement along the curve? Are we staying on the same line? Or is our line moving completely? Is it a demand curve shift, a new demand line? So in our first scenario, the price of cupcakes changes from $4 to $2 and people buy more. So take a second to think about it. You can pause the video if you need to. This is your whole music. Okay, so is it a movement along the curve or a demand curve shift? You can say it out loud at this point, although you will all be saying it out loud as you're listening to the video. The only thing that's changing here is the price, so it is a movement along the curve. Now in our second scenario, we've got more people moving into the same neighborhood as a bakery, so more people are buying cupcakes. Is this a movement along the curve or a demand curve shift? I'll give you some time, pause it, think about it. Okay, hopefully you told me it's a demand curve shift, and the reason is because we have more people moving into a neighborhood. That means that our population has increased, there are more people buying the cupcakes, so demand has increased. So that is a demand curve shift, we have a new line. Now what would that look like on a graph? Again, I'm going to encourage you to pause your video, take a moment to draw it in your notebook, and then check your answer against mine. So pause your video. Yes, you. Yep, do it now. Pause it. Okay. Now you're back. And so you should have a graph that looks like this, where we've got our price, we've got our quantity, and we've got our cupcake line. Right? So let's say our cupcake went from here, $2 to $4. That was just a movement along the curve. We're on the same line, we're not moving lines at all right? However, if suddenly we have more people buying cupcakes because we had more people moving into the neighborhood, we don't have to change our $2 cupcake to get people to buy more. We're just going to have more people buying them. So that's going to be a shift to the right. And I'm going to have a whole new line. So I've got my demand 1, my demand 2, a shift to the right, and a new line. Check your notebook and make sure your graph looks like that. And also thank you to AK for doing this video right now. All right, let's do another review. This one we're actually going to put numbers to it. So during the winter, people in Minnesota don't drive as much. It makes sense, it's too snowy out there. But during the summer, everybody loves to go on vacation. So demand for gas goes up by 50 gallons at every price. It doesn't matter the price, we just want to go somewhere. We've been stuck inside all winter. So first of all, I want you to pause the video and complete the demand schedule or table, and then we're going to graph the shift. So try it on your own first. I'll get you started. So demand 1, we're at 140 gallons demanded when it's only $2. So if I'm shifting it by 50 gallons, I'm going to take 140 plus 50, and I'm going to end up with 190 gallons. So go ahead, pause the video, and then we'll come back and check it. All right. So now we're back. I'm going to go ahead and complete this one. Whoops. So this is what your demand table should look like, your demand schedule. You should have 190, 170, 150, 130, and 110. So each one, we added 50 gallons and got our new number. So we have our original line here, our original demand, and then our second line is going to use these prices and these new numbers. So let's try this one. Again, if you haven't already, pause the video, try to graph it on your own, and then check against my answer. All right? So, hopefully you're back now. You've unpaused it. And we've got our demand schedule right here. I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in really quick, since I moved it over. And the first thing I need to label is my axes. I've got price and quantity demanded. And now I need to come up with some sort of increment that makes sense. I know that I need to go up to $4. So it would make sense to do $1 increments. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You should have something similar to that. At the very least, you should be able to fit your whole line on this axis. Now, for demand, I know that I need to be able to go up to 190 gallons. So my increments here are going to look a little bit different. So I'm going to go with, I think I'm going to do increments of 25. So 25, 50, 75, let's see if this works. I might run out of room. 125, 50, 175, nope, that's not going to work. So I'm going to do exactly what you're doing, which is probably erasing. I'll go with increments of 50. Didn't work the first time, we try again. 200, 250, 300. All right, so I'm gonna draw my first line. So at $2, right here, my first demand was 140 gallons. So I'm going to be right about here. At $2.50, my demand was 120 gallons. It went down. So I'm right about here. At $3, my demand is 100. At $3.50, I'm at 80. It should be right about, let's see, 75. It should be right about here. At 4, my demand is 60, which should be right about here. So my D1 is going to look something like that. Now I want to know with D2. So I have to use the same prices and my new gallons. So at $2, now people are demanding 190. You see how my price has shifted over. My price hasn't changed, but more people want it. Okay, so at $2.50, now I have 170 gallons demanded. At $3.50, or sorry, at 3, I've got 150 gallons demanded. At $3.50, I'm at 130, which is right here. And then at $4, people are demanding 110. So you'll notice my line has shifted over by 50 at every single price, and that is my D2. Hopefully the lines that are in your notebook look similar to this. If they don't, make sure you ask questions on Monday. Now, Whoops. As I mentioned during the warm-up, as we're moving forward into supply, we've done our review of demand. Remember that demand is created by the consumer, right? We as buyers, of course, want to buy low. But if I am supplying goods or services, I want a good price for those. I would like to supply at a higher price, right? So demand is created by the consumer, supply is created by businesses or producers, and they're very different perspectives. They're different ways of thinking. Now, just like you did on Monday, you are going to do supply notes. On Monday, you did this with demand. It's going to be very similar. So draw this table in your notes, divide it into 4 boxes, just like you did with demand. In the first box, you're going to write what is supply. In the second box, the law of supply. In the third, what is a supply schedule? This is a little bit different than demand. And then finally, draw a supply curve here. Remember, you don't need to include the numbers, you just have to show me which direction the line is going. You can read about supply on Google Classroom and learn what it is and how it's influenced. I'll see you Monday. Remember to ask any questions then. Goodbye.